Every year, upwards of 18 million passengers fly through the air over Britain, and 8 out of 10 of them come from or go to places abroad. Every day, the quota of transatlantic passengers passing through London Airport, if they travelled by sea, would need 6 ocean liners to carry them. Yet these long-distance flights are only about 10% of Heathrow's air traffic. This growing swarm of civil and military aircraft over Britain has to be controlled. And the safe control of our airspace depends on radar.
Beeline 911, descend now to 3,000 feet, the QNH 1025.
That's correct. Listen out through the tower, 118, good day.
Few people who travel by air now worry their heads about the technology that makes it possible. Old Jones, for instance, Jones the Flyer, they might call him. He takes it all as much for granted as the morning train. And flying is no miracle to an airborne generation younger than the jet engine. Look at Miss Smith. No, let's call her Miss Brown, it's easier. And where are you going to, my pretty maid? Mind your own business, sir, she says. Maybe she's off to model in Malaga, or suntan in Saint-Tropez. But Miss Brown isn't worrying how Beeline 918 will get her there. Jones, on the other hand, is coming home in Speedbird 500.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain Payne speaking. We're flying at 33,000 feet and will shortly be coming up to the west coast of Ireland. The local time now is 12:25 p.m. and we will be arriving at London Airport at 1:25. The weather is good, and thank you for your attention.
7 miles up in the sky, he's not much concerned about air traffic control. But on Earth below, controllers, with the help of radar, are following his progress. Let's plug in and listen to all the crosstalk.
Shannon here, we want to call you at Strombo.
Go ahead.
It's the Speedbird 500.
Yes, I have it.
And you'll be at Strombo at 1252, and the level is 290.
1252-290. Thank you, Shannon.
Night and day, the complex control organization of the National Air Traffic Service watches over the welfare of thousands of air travelers and sees them safely on their way.
Continue that descent to 2,000 feet, further up the QNH 1025 millibars, airfield elevation 643,
turn left heading 120, you're cleared ILS runway 10 left, report fully established.
Over Britain, what is called controlled airspace contains a network of airways used by most commercial aircraft for some or all of their journey. Separated from military aircraft requiring freer movement and light aircraft not equipped to fly in controlled airspace. A typical airway is about 10 miles wide and 4 miles high. When crossing an airway, most military aircraft pass over the top, but some may go through them under radar control. Light aircraft usually fly beneath the airways. These three-dimensional pathways run through British airspace from Europe and North America and form terminal areas surrounding our major airports. On this speeded-up Marconi research film, aircraft are seen in the London terminal area. They're given directions to overfly or safely routed onto their final approach to landing every hour of every day. radar, which makes this ceaseless control possible, was born out of the need to defend our skies in 1940.
Red leader, Eater 1 leader. 20th train over Herne Bay, Angel Niners, Becker 070. Okay, roger. Scramble, 19 squadron, scramble, Angel 190. Red leader calling blue 2. 109. Red 3, red leader. Bandits, dozens of them, 12 o'clock below. Squadron, echelon starboard.
In those early days, radar depended on radio signals from the ground being reflected by moving aircraft. But this primary radar, in its early form, couldn't distinguish between friend and foe, and often picked up confusing echoes from buildings, massive areas of high ground, and even rain clouds. Then secondary radar was evolved. An electronic interrogator on the ground questions a black box in the aircraft. This is called a transponder because it transmits responses to the questions. Secondary radar, therefore, does not rely on reflected signals. The transmitter in the ground radar interrogates the receiver in the aircraft on one fixed frequency. Then the transponder replies on a separate frequency, producing a unique signal easily identified from all others. As the ground aerial rotates, a directional beam sweeps through any airborne transponders within range, triggering replies which regularly identify each aircraft and show its movements on the controller's display screen. Nowadays, controllers can identify many individual aircraft at a glance and track the changing height and position of each one with the aid of this complex device known as SSR.
Cambrian 201 is leveling flight level 60.
Cambrian 201, roger. Maintain 60, squawk Alpha 3015.
3015, roger.
Roger 201, you are identified. Leave Woodley heading 310.
201, roger.
Roger, contact London now, 132.8.
Secondary surveillance radar now covers all the British Isles, keeping watch on our airspace. The actual volume of airspace one can survey depends on the type of radar equipment and whereabouts it is located. The distance at which a sweeping beam, here shown motionless for simplicity, will detect an aircraft depends on the height the aircraft is flying. For instance, if two aircraft equidistant from the radar approach it at the same speed, the higher one will appear on the display screen before the lower one. This variation of radar coverage at different heights underlies the need for radar heads throughout the country. These are sited very carefully to make sure that our controlled airspace is covered at every height. So that's how the NATS know your Speedbird is nearing the coast of Wales, Mr. Jones. They've been expecting you ever since your captain's flight plan came in from New York on the International Telegraph Network. Then Speedbird 500 was immediately logged on a flight progress strip. And you too, Miss Brown. They've been watching you, or rather your aircraft, ever since pushback at Heathrow. The local controllers in the Heathrow Tower use a high-definition radar to monitor movements around the airport. This is particularly useful at night and in low visibility. As soon as you're airborne, your pilot changes frequency to London Control, which puts him in touch with the London Air Traffic Control Centre. Here at West Drayton, near London Airport, sit the controllers for all the airways over southern England.
Air Lingus 7723, cleared now to flight level 280.
Recleared initially, flight level 1.
They start watching you on the TMA suite, which will take you out of the London terminal area. Soon, your aircraft will be handed over to the controller who's covering the next stage of your journey.
Beeline 9018, flight level 120, climbing to flight level 280, estimating line number 25. Roger, Beeline 918, report passing flight level 220.
The Bristol sector controller, sitting at West Drayton, is watching Beeline 918's progress through the eyes of one of several radar stations covering the route. One of the most modern of these is at Burrington, near Bideford in Devon. Another is at Ventnor on the Isle of Wight. As you fly westward, Miss Brown, your progress will be flashed on a microwave or digital data link back to the London Air Traffic Control Centre, where the Bristol suite can watch your aircraft, just as other controllers are watching over traffic in their sectors. In this way, you've been handed on safely from sector to sector across southern England and Wales. Meanwhile, the other control centres are handling air traffic farther north and over Scotland. These control centres depend mainly on civil radar stations to survey the airways, aided by military radars which can cover air traffic outside controlled airspace.
Shamrock 048, maintain 230, you're cleared Wisley for landing 10 left, squawk 1141.
In upper airspace, above 25,000 feet, close liaison between civil and military controllers is vital, and in the control centres, military men help keep watch on all aircraft movements.
Thank you.
Where's it crosser now, Tony?
Oh, my Phantom's well clear to the south now, Jeff, clear of your Beeline.
Oh, yes, I've got it. Fine, thanks.
Beeline 918, clear to continue your climb, flight level 280.
Over our western approaches, where the big airliners, outbound and inbound over the Atlantic, close at over 1,000 miles an hour, the upper airspace can seem crowded.
Flight level 290, estimating Strumble at 52.
Roger, Speedbird 500, maintain 290, squawk 3004.
Roger, 3004.
What height's your Vulcan now?
He's climbing through 280.
Thanks. Check him through 310, please. I've got a Speedbird come up at 290.
Roger, well advised.
Go.
London Control, Speedbird 500, Strumble at 52. Squawking Alpha 3004, estimating Brecon at 1300.
Thank you, Speedbird 500. I have you. Next check at Brecon, please.
Look at that plane over there. Gosh, it's close.
Don't worry, love, it's not as close as it looks. Happens all the time. It's all right.
He's right, you know. 1,000 feet vertical separation, just as planned. And if they'd been at the same height, the controller would have given them at least 5 miles horizontal separation to keep each aircraft surrounded by a safety margin of airspace.
Transworld 501, passing flight level 240, 350, estimated Brecon 08.
Thank you, Transworld 501. Report passing flight level 300.
This outbound jumbo will pass through the flight level now occupied by the inbound Speedbird 500. But by using radar, the controller will keep enough horizontal separation between them.
Level at flight level 310.
In short, the controller's job is to keep contact with every flight on the runways, in the airways, and above them, maybe 100 or more aircraft, changing position at 10 miles a minute, and make sure that every one of them is quickly and safely routed and landed.
Aeroflot 42456, contact London Control, frequency 13345, good day. Roger, Echo Victor Charlie, descend to flight level 70, routing Woodley to Wisley. Victor Charlie, Roger, we're leaving 110 for flight level 70, Woodley, Wisley.
London Control, this is Beeline 671, approaching Sandgate, flight level 130.
Line 671, London, roger. Continue descent to flight level 70, reduce speed 200 knots.
Stan, I'm getting through to Farnborough, and I'll let you know if you've got Farnborough clear, as it's probably a slow climber.
Yeah. He's with Airways, heading 320, climbing...
Oh, the Clipper 2, turn left, heading 120, you're cleared for ILS on 10 left, default established.
Speedbird 500, descend flight level 130, report leaving 290.
Each controller's radar display extends into neighboring sectors, so he can see and prepare for oncoming traffic. To avoid confusion, each sector talks to all aircraft under its control on its own particular radio frequency.
Clipper 1, contact Shannon now, frequency 131.15. Speedbird 500, change frequency now, line of control on 132.8.
Speedbird 500, by changing frequency, can now talk to the Bristol sector.
London Control, Speedbird 500, passing flight level 190, descending to flight level 130, estimating a beam linum at 07.
Good afternoon, Speedbird 500. Maintain flight level 130 on reaching, and report passing flight level 150.
What's the beacon time on the Aer Lingus?
Just a minute, Brian. I want to get an inbound level for the Speedbird from terminal area.
Roger 161, climb to 240, call out at 140, and our estimated altitude is 42.
161. Southwest inbound. Bristol here. Speedbird 500 just overhead Lynham on time. What level do you want him in? Confirm he's squawking 3004. That's the one, yes. Roger, you can have 110. Righto then, coming down to 110.
Thanks, Brian.
Denton's looking very good today, Tom.
Yes, it's a very sharp picture.
London Speedbird 500, passing flight level 150.
Speedbird 500, roger. Continue descent now to flight level 110 to be leveled by Compton.
Roger.
And so, Mr. Jones, over wantage, the Bristol sector takes you down to 11,000 feet for entry into the London terminal area, safely clear of...
My two Lightnings, they're overhead Compton, heading north, flight level 220.
Clear of...
Clipper 2, yes, I'll stop him at 80 against your Speedbird.
Clear of Air Canada 751, clear of Japan Air 425, and a lot of other people too.
London Control, Speedbird 500, overhead Woodley, flight level 110.
Roger, Speedbird 500, descend to flight level 80 to Wisley, take up the hold and contact London approach 119.2.
Roger 500.
The TMA controller, using a picture from the Heathrow radar heads, takes Speedbird 500 down across the terminal area, clear of all the outbound climbers, to 8,000 feet over Wisley, where it joins the top of a stack of aircraft waiting to land.
Brookman's Park to leave for Stansted. Echo Echo November London, maintain flight level 120. Stu, the Speedbird 500 is over to approach. What are you doing with the Clipper?
I'm taking him to the north side, and I'll maintain 50 till we've crossed.
Okay.
TMA controllers can see the state of the stacks around Heathrow on closed-circuit television. Depending on the traffic, Speedbird 500 is now passed to London Airport approach control. Here, flight progress strips are fed into the simulated stack. The bottom level is about 6,000 feet, so Mr. Jones, coming in at 8,000 feet, allowing for separation, is behind two other aircraft in the queue. As the bottom one peels off for approach, those above it each drop down 1,000 feet.
Speedbird 500, descend to flight level 70, landing information Alpha.
London approach, Speedbird 500, leaving flight level 80 for 70.
Now the Heathrow approach controller takes him out of the bottom of the stack and guides him northeastwards towards the City of London.
Speedbird 500, further clear to flight level 60, turn right heading 090, you're number 4 in traffic.
London approach, Speedbird 500, out of 70.
Using approach radar, he then turns him westwards and descends him to about 3,000 feet for his final approach to runway 28 left. And that's how it is every day, including Christmas Day. At peak, a landing every 100 seconds. Different aircraft types, different nationalities.
Line 771, report leaving longer, heading 280.
Taking aircraft from the various routes.
Japan Air 443, descend now to 3,000 feet, QNH 1023.5.
Adjusting the one ahead, relaxing the next in line.
Golf Golf Oscar, turn left now, 190, base
QFE 1020.5.
Speedbird 500, you're 10 miles from touchdown, continue ILS approach, contact the tower 118.2, good day.
Speedbird 500, changing to London Tower 1182.
With Speedbird 500 nicely lined up, 10 miles out, control passes from approach to local. They start watching him on the distance from threshold indicator, which monitors the VC-10's approach as the pilot flies in on ILS, the instrument landing system. Well, there you are, Mr. Jones. Radar, with a little bit of help from air traffic control, has brought you safely home. And you too, Miss Brown, wherever you are. As a matter of fact, we've known all along you were going to the Emerald Isle. Have fun.
On the ground floor.
Hello, darling. Hello.
Will Mrs. O'Hearn,
Nice time.
passenger on Aer Lingus flight EI.
But you're on your own now, Mr. Jones. Look after yourself, please.